Welcome to part 2 of the Sermon on the Mount interpretation by me, John. The last one was an interesting one to do, and I've got a lot of interesting feedback. Most of it beautiful, wonderful, very kind feedback, and a lot of people saying how much they resonated with what was being said. There was a few who are very devout Christians who did not like at all what I said, but I know that comes with the territory of what I do, and I am not offended by it. I am not hurt by it. They get angry, they get mad, and I just see it as their own fear because they have to defend their faith, and I don't feel the need to defend my faith because I'm very secure in it. And so when you hear of people speaking to me unkindly or something, understand it does not affect me in the way that they intend it to affect me. So what I'd like to do is just go right back into the whole the interpretation. This first one is a small one. It's about giving to the needy, and then we dive into one of the biggest things in this Sermon on the Mount, the Lord's Prayer. So let's just start with the giving of the needy, giving to the needy. So, beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from the Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let the left hand know what the right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. So this is a very, very profound statement in a lot of ways. This is about actually doing good works out of good intention. It's about not doing it for the vanity of it or to be being seen as someone who is doing good works for the sake of just being seen. It's literally a person who is doing good works because it's the right thing to do. You know, my mother was an amazing individual and very devout Catholic, but she was out doing charitable works her whole life. And when I gave her eulogy at her funeral, there was several stories I was able to tell of my mom doing beautiful, charitable, loving things in secret. She was feeding the poor. She was literally making meals for friends whose husband was unable to work and they didn't know where their next meal was coming from. She loaded their refrigerator with food. None of us at home knew this. This was my mom doing this on her own. When my father's uncle came down with Alzheimer's, he was taken into our home and Mom took care of him. When my aunt came home from overseas with 3 children in tow and no winter clothing, my mom took her into the house and they lived with us to get her on her feet. It really comes down to the idea that you do what you do because it's what you do. You do it with good intention because it's what you do. And as you go out into the world doing with good intention, you should not be trying to praise yourself for the good intentions. You should be literally putting your goodness out there for the sake of love, because God is love. And when you put the intention of loving for return, you're actually creating conditions. So you're actually creating conditional love. And so in regards to this, it really comes down to keeping your vanity in check and just doing good works and good deeds. And I think that's what this whole piece here is talking about. But let's go ahead and dive over to the Lord's Prayer. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think they will be heard for their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Pray like this: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For if you forgive others' trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others' trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. This is a beautiful prayer, but I want to go back up into the text above the prayer and talk a little bit about this. It says, when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites who stand in the synagogues and pray, and at the street corners and pray. But once again, he's talking about the vanity of prayer and showing yourself to be a good religious person. He says, truly I say to you, they have received their reward. The reward for the people who are doing it for vanity are getting vain responses thrust upon them, praise and glory for how great and faithful they are. But he says, truly I say to you, they've received their reward. But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. This is telling you to go within yourself. Go inside of yourself and connect to God within. You know, in my regression, I heard the phrase, when you seek a path will be laid before you, but until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. And in this regard, it's talking about going inward and understanding that you and God are one. It's you, and you're going into secret, and the Father who is also in secret will reward you. Who sees in secret will reward you. It's in your belief. It's in your prayer. It's in your internal self. Your connection with God is within, not out on street corners, not out in the physical world. It's a matter of going within and recognizing that you and God are creating as one, and you pray internally with belief and thoughts, words, and deeds, and those thoughts, words, and deeds are manifest into the physical around you, and that's the reward you get is your thoughts, words, and deeds in alignment with love are rewarded to you. And then it goes into the actual prayer, our Father in heaven, our Father which art in heaven, right? First of all, this is a prayer based in the patriarchal time of a couple thousand years ago. So God has a gender of male. I don't believe there is a gender in God, so I think this is the fact that it starts with our Father who art in heaven automatically says to me this is an old text from an ancient time that's geared towards a patriarchy. Art in heaven, you're separate from me is how this is interpreted. Hallowed be thy name. Moses said God's name is I am. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Now this prayer to me is really, it's a manipulated prayer, because this next line, thy will be done, is a subjugation line. It means that something outside of yourself has control. You know, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. You're coming to us and you're bringing your stuff, and whatever you want we'll do is basically what it says. On earth as it is in heaven. We will do what you do in heaven. We will create this experience for you. So it's a subjugation line. Give us this day our daily bread. Now this is interesting because this line here is literally asking to receive. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. This is the forgiveness of doing unloving acts. I'm asking to be forgiven of unloving acts. Well, the only person who can actually forgive you is the person that you did the unfriendly act to, and yourself. Both of you need to forgive. Both of you need to come to that place. And it comes to a place where this is telling you to ask outside of yourself for forgiveness, as if you're a child asking mommy and daddy for forgiveness, and in reality, you as the creator and in the oneness of God, it falls to you to bring forgiveness. It falls to you to bring forgiveness and to work through the issues that need forgiveness. And as far as our daily bread, the belief is creating your experience. So the belief in sustenance and in the physical world, you need food, water, clothing, and shelter, right? And so in the physical world, you can manifest those things into your life simply by believing, which is what the top of this thing is: "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done." Right? It's actually our kingdom come, our will be done. We are creating our experience as a co-creator. Our will be done. I put the thought out, you put it into manifestation form, and so it comes as a co-creator moment. Then the next lines are the best. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The word Satanas, which became Satan, translated means temptation or deceiver, right? It does not mean polar opposite. It does not mean guy with red skin and horns. It does not mean any of those things. It literally means temptation. It means he's asking, lead us not into temptation. He's asking to not be tempted by vanity and other things of that nature, and the material world, and deliver us from evil. Now, if you look at this line, deliver us from evil, and yet in the Psalms it says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. So it's a contradiction to ask to deliver us from evil, when in reality you fear no evil because God is with you. And so it's one of those moments that break in relationship because of the contradiction therein. You don't need to fear if evil is delivered, and evil is just unloving acts are delivered upon you. It's you don't have to fear them. The Hindu Swaminarayan, when he woke up, they came out in the morning and he was sitting by a tree, and there was a lion 6 feet away from him asleep. And they asked him why the lion didn't eat him. And Swaminarayan said, because I'm without fear, he gave me nothing to be fearful for. And so deliver us from evil is being asked to be taken away from fearful things. Well, if you flip the script a little bit, what I've been saying for a long time now is that we need to release our fears and deliver us from our physical world fears. And evil is the fear, is the negative things that are happening is what fear is. And the Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. And so this actually is saying, deliver us from evil, means take the fear away from us, so that we can bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, as in heaven, so it is on earth, right? On earth as it is in heaven. It's just talking about making the world a loving place without fears and anxieties. So there's a little mix in here of subjugation and patriarchal society, but deep inside of it, there's a manifestation prayer, and there's a message of releasing fear, which I think is beautiful. And then at the end it says, for if you give others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. So think about this. Taking the Father element out of it again, your trespasses are the things that are unloving. If you're not willing to forgive somebody, you've attached yourself to anchors of your past. And you've got to let those go. You've got to forgive those trespasses from both directions. You have to forgive them to move forward. You have to release the anchors that hold you from going forward in your life. And that is literally what forgiveness is. Now, the word forgiveness, I like to talk about the word forgiveness. I think I'd like to spell it a different way. I'd like to spell it FORE-GIVENESS, right? Forgiveness. I don't know if there's an E in there. So, however it's spelled. But I would like that F-O-R-E, which means before. Before they give it to you, give it to them. Forgiveness. Give the love first. Give the love first. Give the release of fear first. Be the love first. And then what happens is God, universe, consciousness, yada, yada, gives the love to you in return. In other words, forgive you your trespasses. So that's an interesting interpretation. I hope you'll dive into that and make your own interpretation. Once again, when you see these videos that I do, I'm speaking my truth. If you're offended by my truth, ask yourself why you're offended by somebody else's truth. Because if you're offended, it's because I'm saying something that contradicts your truth. I'm not asking you to take it. I'm not asking you to believe it. In fact, I would much prefer you find your own truth, the things that feel truly loving and not fearful, as this prayer says, and be that love and accept people for who they are. Remember, the Bible says, in my Father's house there are many mansions. There are many ways to the source, many ways to love, many ways to God. I don't care if you're Buddhist, Hindu, Krishna, Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Baha'i, Wicca, New Age, atheist. I don't care. If you're a loving person, you're doing the work of God, and that's all that really matters. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? So let's look at the next one. The next one is called fasting. Now, I like this topic because I am someone who does a fast every year, and I do not do it for religious reasons. I do it because it makes me feel good. It's not a method or a modality for me getting closer to God. It just feels good for me. Here it goes. And when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. Once again, he's saying that their vanity is getting received. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret shall reward you. In other words, whatever spiritual practice you want to embark on, whatever technique or methodology you want to embark on, don't broadcast it to the world to say, look how great I am and that I'm doing this thing. And I know, yes, last year I did my 40-day water fast online. I did not do that for my vanity. I did it because I had people asking about my fast. And I decided this would be the best way to put that information out. You know, I'm in the middle of a fast right now, so it's a very different thing for me. But it's not about the fasting. It's about the vanity again. It's talking about, this is an eternal. It's just talking about going into the doorway, like I said before. You've sought that path. You're going down the pathway of fasting. But it's not about blowing out to the world that you're doing it. It's a matter of, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for myself. And it said, don't wash your face. It says, wash your face and anoint your head so that nobody knows. Because it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or does. It only matters that you are taking this path. The things you do are yours. You own them, right? But you don't need to have the validation for it. Because the validation itself and needing the validation is simply the fear of not being loved. And if you're fearing not being loved, you're not eradicating fear. You're literally marrying into that fear by needing that validation. And once again, your Father who's in secret and in secret will reward you. That's once again through the internal self. That's what you're doing. So I hope that does that one. Let's move on to the next one here, and let's see how this sounds. Okay. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. So, Now, this one is a very simple one. This is designed to tell us that the material goods and possessions in the world are literally not of the you're not going to be able to take it with you, right? They are possessions that you get focused here on doing, getting more, doing the most, being the wealthiest. That focus there is taken away from your ability to do greater, loving, caring things and putting good into the world. And this opportunity that this is talking about is it's saying to you, the treasures here on earth, this phrase or this segment, the treasures here on earth are of the physical plane. They're not something that is tangible when you leave this plane. But what is tangible when you leave this plane is the loving works you do, the good works you do, the ways you've alleviated fear in others. That's the laying up treasures in heaven. You know, this little piece here is talking about what you sow, you reap, and your karma, and all of the what you're putting into the world and how it's coming back to you. And it really is important to realize that the good works you're doing is the treasure that you'll have. And the last line here, where for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Your heart will be also. Your passion will be there. Because the more you love and the more you give love, the more you receive love, the more you're connecting with the source, God consciousness. And that's where your true passion will be, is being in that person who is creating that immense feeling with all the people around you. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? You see, this one here is a beautiful statement. The eye is the lamp of the body. What you choose to perceive, what you choose to put out, it shines a brightness into the world. You know, when you look at somebody and you see that loving sparkle in their eyes, they look at you. That loving sparkle in their eye is a bright light shining into the world. And the brighter that light is shining, the more that person is seeing a joyful, loving world, and people are smiling back and they're laughing. And when I say when I go grocery shopping, I walk in with that smile, I get that smile in return. But also, if you're choosing to see darkness, you will see darkness. And if you're choosing to see things in a heavy manner, your body will take a toll. I one time was doing a private session with someone, and in the session it came out that someone that they knew was having heart troubles. And the reason they were having heart troubles is because they were telling everyone they were heart sick. Because their eye was so focused on the grief they were feeling from losing their brother. They were telling everybody they were heart sick, but it was manifesting into a physical ailment of the heart. So what you're perceiving, what you're believing, is manifested into your experience. And the last line, if the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? Inside of you, that negativity, that fear, that anxiety, will see nothing but negative fear and anxiety, and that negativity will manifest into your body. It'll be created into your body. And it's a matter of choosing to live a loving life and to live a fearless life and to look for the positive in things. Because the more you focus on the negative, the more fear you are. Because remember this, all fear depends on a negative focus, on an outcome that we don't like. And we're focused on a negative outcome. That's all. Every fear depends on the focus of a negative outcome, because all fears are about a future event that may or may not happen. But we wouldn't be afraid if we were focused positively. We wouldn't be afraid if we were going to have a joyful moment. No, we're afraid because we think it may go bad. It may go wrong. And our eye is set on that, so we see darkness. But if our eye is set on joy and love and creating new things, we see joy and love in creating new things. So that's what this phrase is talking about. And let's move on to the next one. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and hate and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. This phrase is talking about the idea of the physical versus the spiritual. You cannot serve the physical and serve the spiritual without a schism there. When we get so focused on the love of money, we get so focused on the love of possessions, we get so focused on our desire to be extremely wealthy, and we stop doing the good works, and we stop doing the loving things, we stop doing the things that are, you can't serve the goodness within you if everything over here is focused on more gain and more material goods. And it doesn't work, because putting your focus here, now the good works are in the back seat. You put your focus here, your material gains are no longer important. You can't serve the two masters, but you can realize that when you focus on doing good things and put love into the world, when you do what you love, the money comes anyway. It's a natural derivative of putting good into the world, of doing what you're passionate about. And so serve the thing that you love, serve the thing that is loving, serve the things that are putting good deeds into the world, and you will be, quote unquote, rewarded in all you need to survive. Think of the ravens, I neither reap nor sow, yet they are provided for. When you do what you love and you put that love into the world, things will come about that will help you survive in the physical world. I'm a perfect example. The subscribers have been so generous to me, and I'm so grateful, because without the private sessions, without the donations, I couldn't do what I do. I'm making a lot of videos right now, and I'm putting a lot of work out, and I'm doing a lot of private sessions, and without those things, I couldn't put this information out. And I'm so grateful to you, and I thank you all. The super chats, the donations, and it's overwhelming. But I know that I'm putting out, everything's focused for me. It's focused on the work that I'm doing. And if anyone's ever had a private session with me, they know I'm tenacious. I stick right in there until we get something solved, or something at least in a better direction. And anyone who's had a reading with me who's gone long will know that I'm there to do the good works. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I serve the master I serve is you, because you're one with me and I'm one with you, and whatever you do to the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. So I'm doing the best I can for everybody I run into. And some people don't like what I say, but all I can do is put out the information that I have, and I don't accept anybody to accept it. But I am not serving two masters. I am serving this information that a buddy of mine asked me to deliver. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet Heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to the span of his life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek after these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. And the next line is, therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient is the day, is its own trouble. So the issues of the day, being here and dealing with the stuff that's here by creating differently. This piece is all about your own self-worth. It's telling you that you are worthy. And not only are you worthy, but you are deserving. And, that if God is love, God is there with all you'll ever need. And God has promised that whatever you ask, you shall receive, as they said earlier. So it's telling you to break free of your self-doubt, your self-worthiness. Come to that place, but come to that place in the here, in the present moment. Because here in the present moment is the only moment you have to create your experience. Think not upon tomorrow, it will take care of itself. In this moment, deal with what's here and now, and create from this place. Realize that in this place, if something's not going the way you like, choose a different belief. Ask and have it be given, and realize that you are worthy and deserving of that thing that you've desired. You are worthy to receive, and you are worthy to have a roof over your head and food on your table. This whole piece here is about, don't be anxious. Don't struggle with fears and anxieties, because you're worthy, you're deserving, and you're receiving. And God says you can have anything you ask for. Whatever you ask is granted if you have faith. And don't worry about tomorrow. It's taking care of itself depending on what you're doing in the here and now. Judge not that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? For how can you say to the brother, let me take that speck out of your eye, when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is holy. Do not throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you. So, judge not, lest ye shall be judged. This is how I knew it from my Bible. This is an online interpretation from another version of the Bible, which I'll have to let you guys know which version this is. Judge not, lest ye shall be judged. When you judge somebody, you're judging yourself as a judgmental person. You're actually saying to the world, I am a judgmental person by judging someone. And when you judge somebody, people are instantly offended by you. You're judging me. How do you judge me? And they get mad, and the struggles start to happen. And they'll measure you by, well, I don't like that person. They're just judging me. They're very judgy, right? And then it says, why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own? Oftentimes, people with the most struggles will look at everybody else and through their own goggles of belief decide that they need to fix themselves. That's a lot of the issues with religions nowadays. As I've said in past, I never get attacked by Buddhists or Hindus or Muslims. I always get attacked by the Christians who think they're mightier than thou, who think that their belief can be the only belief in the world. But God is too big to be held by one religion. So clear out the dogmas and the fear-based junk that's in your system, and come back to love. God is love. And the Ten Commandments were edited when Joshua said, I leave you one commandment, love one another. He knocked it down to one. It's a matter of just loving one another, just being the love into the world, and not judging others for who they are, but seeing others for the part of the road that they're on. We're all on the level ground. We're all in the same place. There is no hierarchy. We all just have different information from different perspectives. And it's not a matter of judging someone where they are, but noticing where you are. And noticing I'm judging them because I need to judge to feel powerful. I need to judge to make myself right and them wrong. That's not loving. That's not loving one another. Looking at that person and saying, "Oh, I see where they are," and giving them love and being an example of love. That is the way, the truth, and the life. So that I wanted to make sure I tapped into that before we moved on to the next one. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be opened. Or which one of you, if his son asks him for bread, give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, give him a serpent? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask of him? Ask and it is given. Seek and you will find. It's interesting because the quote that I remember is, when you seek a path will be laid before you, but until you turn the path back to yourself, right? But this whole statement is not about the word seek. It's about the words. Your Father will give them to you. It will be given, right? The belief that it will be given if you ask has proven so true to me for many, many, many years. When I ask for things, I tend to get them, right? Sometimes it takes longer because my faith itself is not there yet. And there are sometimes it takes instantaneously, within an hour, I'll get my answer or my desire, right? But it's a matter of understanding that when you ask. Now, here's the thing that most people don't get. How you ask. People tend to think of words being how you ask. But Shakespeare said, words without thoughts never to heaven go. How you ask is through belief. What do you believe? Do you believe you're receiving? Ask and it will be given. Believe that it will be given. Asking by saying, I am receiving this, and believing it. Because words without thoughts never to heaven go. But words with thoughts go out to God. In the beginning is the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. God manifests that belief in the world around you. And your outcome shows up right in front of you. Just by your asking and believing, you receive. And that's what this statement is. This, my friend, is the beginning of the law of attraction. That right there is telling you. But it's simplifying it. It's making it pure. When you're, believe that you're provided before. Believe you're fed. Believe you're clothed. Believe that you'll give good things to the world. Because that's the other part of this. When you put your faith in negative things and serpents and a stone instead of bread, you're going to get those negative things because that's what was promised. Ask and it will be given. It does not say ask and it will be given if it's good, right? It's a matter of believing that you're receiving the good and understanding that you have the power to ask and it'll be given no matter what. So why would you ask for crap? Don't ask for crap. Ask for good things. Ask for loving things. Ask for caring things. And your world will be surrounded by those things. So let's jump into the next one, shall we? So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. Those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. This one talks about the idea of the wide path is the path of the masses and the big religions and the following like the sheep. The good shepherd is leading sheep, right? But this is saying, don't go down the big path with the big people going down the religious way or come into yourself. Go to the narrow gate. And though it's hard to get here and break away from all that dogmatic belief and all that struggles of what the others believe and coming to this place, when you get here, you find something beautiful. You find something amazing. I can't tell you how many people I've met in this world who've had huge, huge spiritual experiences and are afraid to talk about them in public, afraid to let anybody know that they've had the experience. And the reason is because they're afraid of the people going through the wide gate. The people going through the wide gate are saying, no, you're supposed to believe what we believe over here in the wide gate. But you're saying, no, I'm going through this narrow gate because it fits me just right. And by going in the narrow gate, it's a shortcut. You get to go there and be in this place and understand what they're going through. And eventually they'll have to come through their own narrow gates. Some of them won't get there until after they die. Many of them will get there in this time. They'll get there through their own narrow gates. But they will come to that narrow gate. They will come back to their oneness with God themselves and realizing that their oneness is the way, the truth, and the life by being in that space of being the love, being God, being with the source, rather than being with the big dogmatic religions and the groups that tell you should believe a certain way, be it old dogma or new dogma. It's a matter of the dogma is external, but your connection to God is internal. And that's what this means. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can be diseased, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. This is the one that I was really hoping to talk about today because that's something that people tell me I am on a regular basis. They tell me that I'm a false prophet. First of all, I'm not a prophet. I don't deal in prophecy at all. I believe that that the concept of false prophets is a religious construct designed to tell people, don't talk to anybody who doesn't believe what we do. That's what the concept of false prophets is, because the false prophets are the ones who sway you away from that belief, that structure of belief that you have to carry through. As I said in the last piece, the ones going through the wide gate, right? They're the ones who lead you away from the law and the prophets. And the law and prophets, which was spoken in the last one, that's just Judaic stuff being peppered into this speech. I don't believe Jeshua would have ever said that. But that's my belief, right? So I don't expect you to believe anything I believe. But I will tell you, the man that I knew was not about the Judaic law. He was about you and your oneness with God and God being love and being love into the world. So that is this idea of what bears fruit. Does the false prophet bear fruit? Every day I make a video or more, many more. And every day I get emails of people telling me how free they feel and how refreshed they feel and how what I'm saying rings true or resonates with them. And that's the fruit that I see. I see people awakening to their own beliefs, awakening to their own truth. I'm not asking them to follow me or any of that kind of nature. I'm putting out the good works that I believe are good works, right? The fruit that I'm bearing is meant out of love and compassion and empowerment. And that's what I think this means. I'm not putting out fear, which is bad fruit. I'm not putting out judgment, which is bad fruit. I'm putting out love and compassion and respect and love one another, right? I'm also empowerment. And empowerment comes only in the present moment. You can sit in this present moment and you can be disempowered and think you're struggling through life, where you can become empowered and control and create your life. And that's the good fruit. My good fruit that I hope to bear in my life is to literally awaken people to their own divinity so that they can go out and create a loving world for all of us. So that's when you think about the fruits that people are bearing, ask yourself, are they causing harm in the world? Are they causing fear in the world? Are they judging others for their own beliefs? And if so, is that the good fruit? So let's go over to the next one, shall we? Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day many will say, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. In other words, people who are casting out demons and using his name, God's name, to put fear and anxiety in people, and doing the mighty works in the name of God. God in this thing, Joshua in this thing right here says, get away from me. Get away from me, because you're not doing the work. You're not empowering people. You're empowering yourselves. Your vanity is making you feel like you need to be in power. And this is not the work. The work is, well, the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. So the will of my Father, once again, external God, Father, male figure, right? But the will of God, the will of the Father is to love, because God is love. And being love and putting love into the world, that, will get great works. But on that day, the many will say, I've done all these great things for you, and I've prophesied in your name, and I've done all these things for you. I've cast out demons for you. I'm going to cast them aside because they're not really doing that, loving things. They're doing vanity things. It's a vanity exercise. And so come to that space and realize that your trip to the source, to God, to consciousness, is all within you. And it's you coming to love and being love in the physical world. And that is the quote-unquote will of the Father. It's the Father and I are one, and we're here to express love. And we experience it through our fears and anxieties. But over time, we release our fears and anxieties, and we come back to that love. And that's what this world is about, is that journey from fear to love. So let's go to the next one. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be foolish men who build his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. The foundation of all of Jeshua's teachings is love. The foundation of everything that Jeshua taught is love. The rock is love. Put all of your beliefs in love first, as the foundation of all actions in your life, of all your thoughts, words, and deeds. Because if you are not putting love first, if you're putting your foundations on vanity and wealth and all these other things, your house will fall. It will crumble. Your experience, your world will crash, because you're too focused on the things that aren't loving. Put love into the world first, and the world will give you love in return. And that is really the key to this whole piece right here, is be the love. Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. The change we all want to see in the world is more love. We want to see more love. And the way it starts is by each one of us becoming love and making our part of the world shine so bright in love that the people around us say, hey, I want what they've got. And then they start creating love around them. And that's how the world gets changed, by each one of us becoming the love first. And then everyone else will change by seeing us as an example. So let's go on to the next one, shall we? And this is the final one. The authority of Jesus. And when Jesus finished these sayings, the crowds were astonished by his teachings. And he was teaching them as one who had authority, not as their scribes. So you see here, it says, is not as their scribes. He's saying, I am the one with authority, and I wouldn't even say if he would say it that way. This section here, this piece here, is not about the authority of Jesus. It's about the authorship of Yeshua. It's about the putting the words, his truth, the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He was putting it out there. And it didn't match what the scribes had written. It didn't match the prophecies. It didn't match what anybody was writing at the time. He was teaching them as one who had authority and not as their scribes. In other words, he wasn't teaching the Torah. He wasn't teaching the Judaic writings. He was teaching first person, right now, right here. He was not talking about following the law and the prophets, as it says earlier. That was, I totally believe, added into this sermon, because it's about you coming into your power. And this man is telling us these amazing things that don't match anything the scribes have said. And yet it's also true. And it sounds so true. Enough for us to still be talking about it 2,000 years later. And that is the key to this entire sermon. It's about empowerment. And then it's mixed in there with some really Judaic law stuff that right here at the last thing it says, not as their scribes. In other words, all that Judaic law that's in there comes from the scribes. All those things about the Father come from the scribes, right? It's about your divinity. You're able to reap and sow. You're able to ask and have it given, right? You're the one who's able to bear good fruit. And the golden rule, what you do to others, have them do unto you. You're the one who can do unto others, right? And you're the one who can not judge others. I look down this list of things here, and you're the one who can choose not to be anxious. That in itself is huge, Focus on love. Focus on being love. That's what the speech is about. But don't take the patriarchal stuff that says men are better than women, because it's not true. We're all equal. We're all part of God. We're all equal in the eyes of every one of us. And the ones who are afraid are the ones who think that we're not equal. But in reality, the reason they're afraid is because they've subjugated themselves to thinking that they're a victim of some kind. And so, my friends, this has been the part 2 of the Sermon on the Mount. That was the end of the sermon itself. And I hope you found something in here that rings true for you. And I hope that, whatever does ring true for you, you take it into your truth. I'm not asking you to. I'm not expecting you to. I'm not trying to preach to you what you're supposed to believe. Only you can do that, because only you can walk through the narrow doorway. Only you can take yourself back to yourself and come to your own truth. So step into that role of co-creator with God, and be the way, the truth, and the life that Yeshua talks about. And you will see amazing changes in not only your life, but the world around you. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. The Level Up Spirit channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment.